The Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service has been dedicated to educating Texans for over a century. In 1915, the Extension Program was established under the federal Smith-Lever Act to deliver university knowledge and agricultural research findings directly to the people. Ever since, AgriLife Extension programs have addressed the emerging issues of the day, serving diverse populations across the state. Texans turn to Extension for solutions in horticulture, agriculture, 4-H and youth, and family and consumer sciences. Extension agents respond not only with answers, but also with resources and services that result in significant returns on investment to boost the economy. Join us Fridays at 1 o'clock for the AgriLife Extension Hour. Today on the AgriLife Extension Hour, we will be featuring the Better Living for Texans program with host Yvonne Welther.
Howdy, 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 and thank you for tuning in to the Texas A&M Extension Hour. This is Yvonne Welther, your Texas A&M AgriLife Better Living for Texans Extension Assistant, and today we have a very interesting a very interesting show. We will be talking about food protection management and food security, but I also would like to introduce to you a special guest I have. And, I invited her. Her name is Miss Jinny Mata, and she is the owner of Pestmasters Services. They are a pest control company. And Jenny?
Hi, thank you, Yvonne. It's a privilege to be here. I appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you coming because I did let her know last minute, like probably an hour ago or something. Hey, Jenny, would you like to come out and help me out with the show? So I appreciate you very much coming out here with such short notice.
Absolutely.
Well, today's show we will be talking about. I invited Miss Jenny over for the very reason is that we're going to be talking about food security, and what do I mean specifically is protecting our food source, and this is something that is very significant economically, health-wise, and it is very right now especially. Unfortunately, many Houstonians, families are facing tough times due to job loss in the oil field. And, it has a droplet effect a ripple effect where, one industry goes down and, others are feeling it too. Mm-hmm. And, there's so few things that we have control of. Unfortunately, rent is getting higher, bills, utilities, it all piles up. And the more of that, that it adds up, the more the bills go up, the more likely we're going to take away from our food budget. And that I know is true, being a college student once upon a time. Mm-hmm. I did have to, I have to either get books or food. So, often I would go over to a friend's house and mooch off of them. But now, it's not so easy. Many families, like I said, are facing tough times, and food security is an issue nationwide, not just in Montgomery County or our neighboring counties. What we got to do is that we have to think about possibly being more savvy in the respect of, I guess you would say, it's insect warfare. Mm-hmm. A lot of the families I talk to in my classes will ask me, we don't have a lot of food, and sometimes I get discounted food from somewhere and it has bugs in it. Can I still eat it? Or, they have all these questions. Mm-hmm. I said, well, let's get to the nitty gritty here, and we will start our talk on these common pantry pests. And these insects are, these pests, I'm sorry, their significance is, what's the big deal? It's just a little bug. It's like, yeah, possibly, but it can really blow out of proportion quick. And not only that, a lot of these insects are vectors. A lot of these pests are vectors for illnesses that could really do us harm. Mm-hmm. When they ingest the food or they're walking around in it and happen to leave a droplet of their feces behind, and that could make us really sick. Insects and other types of rodents will urinate. We'll put droppings on our food. And, I knew some people then that got really sick. I think my mom did, because they were ingesting flour that was infected with flour that had rat urine on it. So I think it might have made somebody really ill.
Yes,
I think
it can do that.
Yeah. So we'll go over some 4 basic concepts when it comes to controlling and protecting your food supply. Miss Jenny and I were talking about very interesting stories that she had to share in the world of pest control. Oh my goodness. I mean, I could be here for hours listening to her. I mean, this is so very eye-opening and enriching conversation we had. But one of the 4 steps that we have to take into consideration is what we're dealing with. So what would you say, Miss Jenny, you as a professional, is a very important step in knowing what is going on in your pantry? Like, somebody will say, I got roaches, or I got, sometimes they call a beetle a roach. Mm-hmm. So
the best thing to do is really you have to identify what you're dealing with, because each insect has different things that they like and dislike. And so when you can identify what you're dealing with, then it's a lot easier to control that and to help with that. So
okay.
you can you can bring container, you can save it in a container what you find. Anything that you think might help to identify what you're dealing with is great, and you can bring it down to the extension office down here, or any pest control professional should be able to help you as well.
Okay, so that's actually the best thing to do if you don't know what you're dealing with. And why is it important? It's like, well, different insects or pests like to live in different food products. Mm-hmm. They'd rather be in flour. Some would rather be in cereals. Some would rather be in dog food or in spices. So if you don't know what you're dealing with, just don't take out that bug spray and douse the whole pantry with the spray. We'll get to that later, but we'll tell you why that's probably not the best thing you can do. All right, so to properly identify, first of all, keep calm, right?
Exactly.
Keep calm. Miss Jenny, you mention get a container if you can collect any evidence. And when I'm talking evidence, I'm thinking maybe the little poop pellets that they leave behind. Some people, think it's maybe. I saw once a roach pellet, and I thought it was a mouse pellet.
Right.
And I was, I took it to my extension professional, and he said, no, it's a roach pellet.
It's very difficult to kind of identify that. And so sometimes, when you collect it and you think it's just a spot, right? But it could be something really significant to be able to help us identify what your issue is.
Right.
So anything helps. So
it does no good to put up mouse traps. I could have totally put up like 1,000 mouse traps, and it was just roach poop.
Exactly. So, and if you don't know what you're dealing with, then you're probably not helping yourself either get rid of it, and you get frustrated. So, anything helps for sure. Okay.
So identify is a big thing. And let me, going back to pests, how did they get in here? I'm not a messy person. I'm very clean. But there are 3 things, we call it the pest triangle, that will immediately invite the little buggers or the rodents over. And the 3 important things are water, food, and shelter. And whenever you give any of these critters those 3 things, which, they're like us. They want to live, they want to eat, they want to drink, and they want somewhere to stay that's comfortable and warm. And especially now, and when it's getting a little bit cooler, do you have an influx of clients calling you? It's like, you know what? I've noticed more mice than ever are inside my house, or I've noticed there's more roaches or other types of insects.
Absolutely.
Now that it's colder outside. Mm-hmm. What do they say? If they're cold, you're cold.
Right.
Let them in.
Cold,
no,
you're cold. If they don't have water, they need water, and you've got it.
Yeah. Okay. So they're seeking shelter too, y'all. A little roach, I absolutely cannot stand roaches. They send me into hyperactivity faster than any coffee drink
and they
or
fly.
caffeine drink out there. Yeah. So, and they fly. I thought I was brave. But, it's taking one of those elements out of this pest triangle will help mitigate problems, and it'll help you manage the issue so it won't be an issue a lot better. So rule number 1, don't invite unwanted guests. And how hard is it to get them out again?
It's very difficult. Once they're in, it's sometimes where you see one, there could be a lot more. So, where you think you see just one insect, there may be a lot more behind the cabinet in the dark corner, so you have to really be careful and take care of it as soon as you see it. Don't let it go.
Now, besides unwanted guests, do you do relatives too, Miss Jenny?
No, I don't take care of relatives. Joking. Sorry about that. There are some I'd like to take care of, but
holy moly! Well, we're all jokes aside. We will be talking more about the pest triangle and other pest problems. Thank you for tuning in to the Texas A&M Extension Hour. This is Yvonne Welther, your Better Living for Texans Extension Assistant.
You're listening to the Extension Hour with Texas A&M AgriLife Extension. Visit us online at montgomery.agrilife.org.
Doing business since 1985, Assistance League of Montgomery County is a nonprofit, all-volunteer organization where all proceeds stay in Montgomery County. We are proud to sponsor 10 philanthropic programs that enhance the lives of those in our community. Visit our thrift shop at 126 North San Jacinto Street in downtown Conroe or call us at 936-760-1151. Don't forget to like us on Facebook.
Lone Star Internet Radio is now bringing you the weekly business hour show each Monday morning at 11 a.m. My name is Rick Schisler, and I will be your host. Each week, we will be bringing you local, area, and national business news that you can use. The program will also feature an interview with a local or national business person who will share their own experiences, successes, and failures in operating their businesses. Our show is for anyone who already owns a business, whether they work solo or have employees, and for those who are thinking about starting their own businesses. A bit of information about myself. Again, my name is Rick Schisler, and I am a Silver Fox advisor who has over 40 years' experience as a serial entrepreneur. As a part of our show, I will offer some advice and encouragement on our monthly topic, and I will take your questions by email at rschisler@silverfox.org or call into the station at 936-647-3776. See you on the radio Monday at 11 a.m. for the weekly business hour.
SPCA PetSnap of Montgomery County is a 501c3 all-volunteer-based rescue and adoption organization with a no-kill policy for healthy and adoptable animals. Our goals are fourfold: to rescue and rehabilitate homeless animals, to provide a safe haven for the animals until a suitable adoption or foster care home is found or until they are reunited with their owner, to educate the public about the great need to reduce pet population, which includes the importance of having their pets spayed and neutered, and to further the cause for humane and responsible pet ownership, and to provide a low-cost spay-neuter clinic for people who are unable to afford to spay or neuter their pets otherwise. SPCA PetSnap of Montgomery County encourages you to think adoption first. You can contact us at www.spcaofmc.com.
You're listening to the Extension Hour with Texas A&M AgriLife. Visit us online at montgomery.agrilife.org.
Howdy, 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 and welcome back. Thank you for listening and tuning in to irlonestar.com. And this is the Extension Hour with your host, Yvonne Welther, your Better Living for Texans Extension Assistant for Montgomery County. And I am here with a very special guest. It's Miss Jinny Mata from Pestmasters Services. She thankfully was available for my short notice. And we're having a grand old conversation a while ago about pests and all these interesting critters, you could say, that we can have in our house and how to prevent them. So today's topic, we're talking about food security and managing pantry pests, common pantry pests. And I will say I've had my run-in with each one of these insects that we're going to talk about. First of all, the problem with pests is that they a lot of them are, they invite disease by either leaving droppings on your food, or they carry it on their bodies, and that could really compromise our health. And not to mention all the damage that they do to our food, which, when you throw away food, you throw away money. And these days, that's very difficult because food is not getting cheaper. Sometimes people have to decide between paying their electric bill or eating, something, or buying an extra gallon of milk or a loaf of bread. So that's why it's very important of health, a significance, I guess, a biological significance, and from an economical one. So let me ask you, there's so many kinds of pantry pests that are out there. What do you know? What's the one that you see the most? For me, I've seen the Indian meal moth a lot.
Yes, that's very common.
And that guy, it's like he's triangular shaped with scales on his wings. He's got like a little pointy kind of snout.
So that's the weevil. But the Indian meal moth, he it looks like a flying moth when it's full grown into its adult stage, and so it's got wings and they are very painted. I say they kind of look like that's why they're kind of called Indian meal moth. They come from the Indian corn. They like that, and so that's how they got their name. And so Indian meal moths are common in your pantry for sure. And one thing that you can also see to identify if it's an Indian meal moth is a cocoon-like casing. They'll leave a cocoon-like casing behind.
Do they leave that in the meal itself or on the side of the container?
Both. They can do both. Sometimes you'll see it inside your flours or your grains or your spices, and then sometimes you'll see it laying out on the counter or the shelf of the pantry.
Well, golly bee. Now we also have some other insects like a beetle, a sawtooth grain beetle. They are oval shaped with hard front wings. So, one thing is, just like the moth, they could be in one area, but they could easily just fly over to infest another part of the house.
Absolutely.
Or other food products.
Yeah, we had an issue one time that we had a client that had Indian meal moths really bad, and we cleaned the pantry. We did everything that we needed to do. We went in there, helped her look through all of her food, and we could not find anything.
It must have been bad for y'all to come in on this
case. It was bad. She was very frustrated, and she's like, I've done everything, all the research I've done. And so we just went in there, and we were getting down to the nitty-gritty trying to figure it out, and come to find out it was in some eucalyptus plants that came from like a craft store or something. And we just were not expecting that at all. So it was like we were doing the happy dance when we finally figured out where it was coming from.
So I think the moral of the story with either moths, beetles, or weevils, which are the ones with the pointy
I call it
noses.
The Pinocchio nose.
Pinocchio noses, is that we need to inspect our food. But that was a tough one because that came from apparently some sort of craft store. So if you can help it, folks, do check out the items at the store as you're purchasing them. Inspect the bag of rice, the bag of grain, anything that, make sure it has no punctures in it. It's not ripped. And sometimes you'll see the bugs crawling in and out. In that case, tell the store worker, because it behooves them to nip that in the bud, and they don't want anything to expand, because I'm sure you get your calls from warehouses and stores about this issue. It's just, it can get out of hand fast. Check your flours, your cornmeals, your rice, your pasta at the store.
Right.
Okay, crackers, oatmeals, that's where you'll find most of these critters. They're even in spices.
Right.
That was a kicker a long time ago when I was learning about this. I was like, spices? Is that why those sesame seeds are crawling around? That was a long time ago, y'all. Right. Okay. So you have
weevils in particular, they love paprika.
Weevils are the ones with that pointed nose, or Pinocchio?
The
Okay.
Pinocchio nose is
Right.
how I remember that to identify it.
Yeah, so hopefully our listeners will remember that too. The Pinocchio nose guy
is the weevil.
And he's in the what was that? The
Paprika.
Why is it interesting?
It was. I thought that was very interesting, but they seem to just be drawn to the paprika. So you think grains and seeds and your baking mixes, that's where you're going to, but sometimes you have to look into the different spices that you think, oh, they surely wouldn't like that, but sometimes they do.
I mean, they're leaves, and it's totally edible.
But the one
like
thing
it,
they
like
don't
it.
like is the bay leaves, and the moths and the weevils, they don't like bay leaves. So sometimes, and I'll share how to use the bay leaf to help prevent them from coming into your mixes and grains and stuff like that later.
Oh, wow. That's very cool. Also, this is something that sometimes we don't think about, but do inspect. I mean, besides that craft store story.
Right.
I mean, that's amazing. Inspect your dog food, cat food, any pet treats, those little crunchy nuggets that they love so much. Bird seed.
Absolutely.
That it's a seed. If it's a seed and you could feed, it'll feed them too. Okay? Because you know what? If they're cold, we're cold. If you like it, they like it.
They like it.
So do inspect carefully. Do not bring the infestation home by all means. And also be very careful. I know some stores will sell a punctured bag of feed. It could be chicken feed, dog food, any of those items that come like in large bags. They'll sell it for discount because they're broken. But I wouldn't recommend that because more than likely they will already have an invader in there making the home. Is there something else that you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, we had a client that she loves birds, and so she was inviting all these birds with her bird feeders and everything, and she was keeping the bird seed inside the home. And so it infested her home by doing that because the mill moths were in the bird seed. And so, it's very good to try to keep that separated from your home. I suggest, if you have pets, put all of that in containers, airtight containers, because we just don't realize, how fast something can be really bad.
Well, yeah. It's awe-inspiring. I mean, if you ever have had an invasion of a pest, it is horrible, because a lot of people do end up throwing the food away because it's gotten so out of hand, or they don't, or by the time they see signs of it, it's too late, and they have to dispose of a lot of food. So, having said that, try to keep your food in containers. Dog food, bird food, if you can keep it outside and closed up. Do you recommend a metal bin, a glass bin, or a plastic bin for food, animal food, and also human food?
Right. Really all the above. I mean, they say glass is really the best, or, airtight glass, but with people with children, that's kind of hard sometimes to do because your kids are getting in the pantry and you have all this glass, and it become very dangerous for them as well. So, we just try to recommend, the best tight sealed container that can screw on or, can be pushed down really easy or really hard, to be able to combat, them getting inside your food. Sometimes they come along with your food like we've talked about. So when you do airtight containers, you're keeping it in there. And then when you open it and you see the pest in there, then okay, let's get this outside as fast as we can because you don't want to contaminate anything else. So it's good both ways. That's why we really stress, plastic containers. I'm going to put a little side note in. They can be expensive, buying plastic containers and glass containers. And so one thing that I've done personally, I love coffee, so I drink the creamer that's the powdered creamer, and it comes in a really big canister. And I use all that creamer out. I wash it real good. I clean it real good. I like it to look pretty, so I'll paint the outside and make it look pretty. And then I put my flour or my mixings in there, and it screws on real tight, and it's a good way to just repurpose that.
Wow, that's a pretty cool idea. I think I saw something like that on social media.
Yeah.
And that's a good money saver. if it could prevent any, I guess, from an invitation, I suppose, for rodents or for roaches or for any other pantry pests, by all means, do what you can. I like the inexpensive do-it-yourself repurposing. That was pretty cool. But folks, also, it's not going to be a foolproof. You can also, what you want to do actually is that you want to clean out your container. Once that product is done, let's say you're keeping your flour in there, make sure to give it a wash in a good dry and hot soapy water and let it air dry, because those critters, you can carry them over to the next batch of good flour. If there was one in the previous flour, clean it out well between, I guess, products or between bags of flour that you might have in your containers. So make sure to clean them out between uses and let them air dry. And do look out, if it is a plastic container, sometimes there will be critters who are really persistent, and you will at least see that there is an evidence of them attempting to gnaw away at the plastic, so you can catch it sooner. Right. It'll give them work. It'll definitely give them work to get to your food source, but they probably won't be successful the first chance around.
Yeah, they're gonna go to what's easiest. They're lazy. They want, just like, if it's easier for us to do this, then we're gonna do it this way. And so they're the same way. Whatever's easiest. So if we make it hard for them, then it's easier for us to identify it before it does become a problem. For sure.
Very good. Those are some really good tips. Also, again, make sure that you always, the best security that you have for your pantry is probably what they say, your nose's shadow. Always keep an eye out on your pantry. I mean, see what you have in there, and then, that's my other classes, see what you have in your pantry and plan your meals accordingly. But also look out for any signs of insect infestation. And when I mean signs, I'm talking droppings, scratched up bags or material, or little suspicious. I guess they have, sometimes mice will form they'll get paper and make little litter nests.
Absolutely.
Look out for those signs. Also, buy small quantities of food that will be used. If you know that you're not going to use it quick enough and you have no way to store it, buy smaller quantities that will be used within 2 to 4 months, because you know what, they do go, like flour can go rancid. There are some products that can go bad and they will not last forever, so why leave it out there and open for critters to get to it and possibly just wreak havoc at your home. So storing in airtight containers is a very good idea to protect it from invasion. We will be going to break. You are listening to the Extension Hour on irlonestar.com. And this is Yvonne Welther from Texas A&M AgriLife Extension, Better Living for Texans. We will be back.
You are listening to the Extension Hour on irlonestar.com.
Heaven's Army of Resources and Recreation Center is a 501c3 nonprofit organization featuring a 10,000 square foot building located at 19325 FM 1485 West, New Caney, Texas. At Heaven's Army, we offer over 26 different services free for all ages, from karate, dance, drug and alcohol classes, anger management, parenting, food and clothing pantries, to just name a few. We are supported solely by volunteers and private donations. Our main mission is to glorify God in all that we do. At Heaven's Army, we strive to be a hand up, not a handout. Come check us out at 19325 FM 1485 West, New Caney, Texas, or call for more information at 281-689-5864. You may also learn more about Heaven's Army by visiting our website at heavensarmyofresources.com.
Howdy, howdy, folks. Cable Smith, host of the Lone Star Outdoors Show, inviting you to join me Saturday mornings from 7 to 8 on Lone Star Internet Radio for Texas' premier hunting, fishing, and outdoor talk show. So pour yourself another cup of coffee and pull up that stool a little closer to the old campfire, because if you can catch it or kill it in Texas, we're going to talk about it. That's right. bucks and ducks, gobblers, monster bass, redfish, trout, and a whole lot more. Plus, you never know what outdoor celebrity is going to drop by, from Phil the Duck Commander Robertson to fishing legend Bill Dance or everybody's favorite uncle Ted Nugent. Heck, we might even mix in an interview and hear some brand spanking new Texas music from one of your favorite Texas musicians like Robert Earl Keen, Brandon Ryder, or the honky-tonk kid himself, Aaron Watson. Loved or hated but never ignored, it's the Lone Star Outdoors Show with me, Cable Smith, Saturday mornings from 7 to 8 right here on Lone Star Internet Radio on irlonestar.com.
I'm Lieutenant Bob Berry with the Conroe Police Department, reminding you that texting and talking on the phone while driving are not only dangerous, but also illegal in school zones and other posted areas. Drive safely and alert.
You are listening to the Extension Hour on irlonestar.com.
Howdy, howdy, Montgomery County. This is Yvonne Welther, and you are listening to Lone Star on irlonestar.com. This is the Extension Hour. And today we are on my Better Living for Texans show. We are talking about pantry pests, and the significance of it is how it affects our pocketbooks, how it affects our health. And we went over some really good points with Miss Jinny. And oh my goodness, the stories. You know, folks, it's not... The hard part is getting rid of these critters once they're in our house, but I guess the best thing to do is avoid not inviting them into our homes is the best thing, avoiding. And it's so easy compared to when you have a full-blown infestation. Good luck. You know, it's going to cause you a lot of headaches. It's going to cost you some products that you're going to lose. I mean, your food is going to be just, I guess, go bad. And let me tell you, right now it's not so easy to just go out and buy a whole new refrigerator full of food, or a pantry full of food. Mm-hmm. Times are tough, folks. So let's go over some of those pointers. We said identify, know what exactly you have. You had suggested if you're worried, you don't know what it is scratching away at your food, is making it go bad. What critters are crawling around, you recommend a glue board. Mm-hmm. Okay.
A glue board is a great thing because it's non-toxic. It won't hurt your kids or your pets. And we really like those because it really helps. What they do is they just crawl over there and they get on the glue board, and then you can take it in and you can show your professional or go to the extension office again, and just they're willing to help you down there as well as we are. And it's a great thing to use. It's a great tool. And when you do it, make sure you put it up against the wall like they're going to go through a little tunnel.
Oh, I see. Very good tip. So identifying is very important, so you can act accordingly. The next one is to exclude them, not letting them in.
Right. And
also, we were going over the exclude portion of this is, put your food, your dog food, your bird food, or even go back. You start at the store. If you bring something home and it's got an infestation, it's going to cause you problems. So please, by all means, check the pet food. Check your own food, the pantry, the rice, the grains, the cereals. See if there's not any critters. I've seen that before, and let me tell you, that was pretty gross. I think it was a box of cereal. Mm-hmm. I mean, the store is great. They're very clean, but I think this one just got by them. I think it might have popped or something. You can't tell inside the box,
right.
But there was little beetles all around that. So yes, by all means, observe. Don't buy something that's broken or ripped because it's discounted. So, and when you do bring home your food that has been thoroughly inspected, do put it in containers to protect it from any possible invaders. Do not invite the pests. If you're giving them water, if you're giving them food, and you're giving them shelter, they have no reason to leave. They're going to invite all their little relatives over to stay, and they're just going to have a good old time at your place. So let's avoid that. Now, another part of containing them is excluding them, is sealing up any way that they can get in also. Because let's say they are around. What you want to do is that you want to make sure that I guess it's part of sanitizing, you clean your shelves once they are in there, and you call your professional and you've done every measure that you could to avoid them. Clean the shelves in your bins. Give them a good wash with a rag and hot soapy water. Clean your containers before refilling them. We went over that. And is there any other tip that's
some things we don't think about, and that is when we're cleaning, sometimes you can use hot water and some vinegar on the shelves, but when you're cleaning the shelves, you want to do on top and the bottom, because we forget that they can still crawl underneath and stay attached and not fall off, and so they leave little secretions and little feces, and so you want to just really do a good wipe down when you do that under the shelves as well on top. When you're making a snack or something spills, a little flour or something, when you're getting it out of the pantry, wipe it up immediately. It's amazing how fast that they can know that something's there for them to eat. So you make sure that you wipe it down immediately. Get your kids to do it. That's really difficult, but it's the best procedure. Is if they spill something, they need to clean it up immediately. And then some of the other things is when you're cleaning out your pantry, if you really have a bad infestation, just clean out the pantry, take everything out, and vacuum. Vacuum is a really great thing just to get all the cracks and crevices in the shelves. And when you do vacuum, anytime you're vacuuming, whether it's your carpets, whether it's the pantry, whatever it is, when you get done vacuuming, your job's not done until you take it outside and empty the bag outside in the outside trash can or the canister. Because if you just take it and put it in a closet, you're leaving them there. And if you've picked up eggs or the larvae and they become an adult, then you just have reinfested your home. So every time you vacuum, it really doesn't matter what you're doing. You really need to do that. And that'll really help prevent a lot there.
My goodness. Very good tips. So remember, after we identify the problem, it's like, okay, Miss Jinny, I think I have a roach problem because this is the evidence. And you say, okay, put out the glue trap, we catch it. Now, and we're gonna do next is that we're gonna sanitize, and what that means is that we're gonna clean out all of our shelves, put our food that's still safe and good, that hasn't been invaded by roaches or any other pest for that matter, into containers. So keep it safe away, put it aside, clean out your cabinets, clean out your pantry with hot soapy water, and vacuum out first. I think vacuum the food particles out, and then wash the shelves with hot soapy water and a cleaning solution. So the next step, when everything is nice and dry, is to take some caulk to seal the cracks all around the shelves. Oh, let's not forget under the shelf. Right. Under the shelf. Use caulk to seal the cracks around the shelves where debris collects. So if your cabinet isn't flush, or even if it's not, I would still caulk the cabinets to the wall. Absolutely. To make sure there's no cracks or no way to let them in. Make it difficult for them.
Plus, it eliminates you having to vacuum out every time.
That's right.
If you do it right the first time, then it's a lot easier to just keep the pantry clean and know and feel peace of mind that you've done all the caulking, so you don't have to vacuum out every time.
That's right. And also, as Miss Jinny pointed out, you want to empty out that vacuum that you use to get rid of all those little critters in the corners. Empty out your vacuum outside, guys. It's very important because you could just, those eggs and those little critters are the size of the head of a pin or smaller. So you're not going to see them, but they can exist. They could fall through the cracks into the carpet and then hatch. Right. They're very resilient. They've been around for many, many, many years for a reason. So, and I think there was something that was really neat that Miss Jinny was telling me about. Once your pantry is nice, set, clean, caulked, and ready to get stocked up again, make sure you have your food in containers, plastic or glass, or metal, whatever. There was also some really cool tip that you were sharing and talking to me about, and I think I'm going to go home and do that.
Yeah, it's really kind of funny. People laugh, but if you get some, leggings that are up to the knee pantyhose, and you buy those, and then you can go to the pet department and buy the cedar shavings that you put in for different pest small pets, you can put the cedar shavings in the pantyhose and tie a little knot at the end and then hang it in your pantry because they don't like the smell of cedar. And so, a lot of the moths, a lot of the roaches or beetles or weevils, you're kind of hitting them all with that. And so people laugh because, you open the pantry and you have these things hanging with pantyhose, but it's really good to help with that.
It's like, what is it, some kind of voodoo or something? It's like voodoo against insects.
Yes.
Huh. Well, I think that's a pretty cool tip. I mean,
yeah.
I'd definitely give it a try at home.
It's inexpensive and it's something to try.
I love
when
cedar.
You're at your end of your rope, you'll try anything, right?
Sure. I mean, after all that, man, yeah. So it's kind of thorough. So be very thorough about how you clean and then caulk and so you should be good after this step. But then next comes exclusion, our third step. And what that is about is, like we said, keep on keeping an eye out on anything that you bring in if you can help it. If you notice that an infestation has come back, try to think about other sources where it's coming from. Again, inspect your food items before you purchase them. Do not buy the damaged goods. Buy in small quantities, and that's very important to do, because if not, it's going to be like a never-ending story. And I'm not talking about the one with Atreo. I'm talking about a nightmare pest infestation. So what we want to do is that we want to get, I guess the other step that I'm talking about again is sanitizing. If you do have food that happens to be infested, something that you forgot in a corner, you want to throw it out. Wrap up that bag and immediately take it outside of your home. Don't let it linger with like a few days of trash, because you're just letting them roam around the house and find a hiding spot because they know what's coming to them. So I believe so.
Yeah.
So, but if you do have something that you just brought home and it got lightly infested, and I'm talking about a few bugs, and there's just sometimes we just can't afford to throw out the food. So another tip that you can do is that you can heat up the food. Let's say it's cornmeal or flour. Get the oven going at 200 degrees Fahrenheit. Put it in there. Put your food product in there and leave it in there for 90 minutes. And that should kill eggs. That should kill the adult, the larvae. Or what you can do, and I've done this before, and there was a very mild infestation with my spaghettis. And what I did is that I found like 1 or 2 bugs. And I put it in the freezer for a few hours, for a few days, I'm sorry.
Right.
It was days. It was 3 to 5 days. And I just, got it out again, and it was fine. Insects were gone. If they had any eggs, they were gone. And, sometimes if there is a product that I don't use very often, I do put it in the freezer for storage.
Right. It's a great place to keep your flours and grains and stuff like that if you're not using them on a daily basis.
Yes, folks, and remember to remove any dead insects. When you sift through that flour after you've treated it with heat or cold, sift through it and get rid of those. Pluck out the little insects that are already, defunct, and get rid of them. So another tip, as far as the last part of it, is called control. We have to control and manage. We don't want this to happen again. So we've inspected, we've identified, we've sanitized, we've contained. Now there's control. And, this is it's an ongoing cycle, I suppose, that you always, it has to do a lot with good housekeeping. You had mentioned if you're fixing some food and flour falls onto the floor, flour falls onto your counter on the sides where the refrigerator and the counter end, that crack is so annoying. You got to make sure that you clean it up, because imagine if you're an itty bitty insect, that must look like an avalanche or something from the Alps,
Right.
That shower of flour, it's like, it's welcome sight for them, and it probably is like huge, of course, I imagine,
right,
for them. So they're gonna totally know what happens.
Absolutely.
We might
They're
not notice
doing the
it,
happy
but for
dance because
them,
you just fed them.
Yeah, exactly. So part of control is good housekeeping, and always, by all means, I'm always teaching this in class. Start with a clean area. If you're going to be preparing food, clean up before and clean up afterwards, because you sure don't want anything lingering. You don't want bacteria growing. You don't want to invite critters. You don't want to invite pests. So good housekeeping is very important and critical in this respect, and for your own health and for your own sanity, let me tell you. All right, so we will be going to break. You are listening to the Extension Hour on IR Lone Star, and this is Yvonne Welther, your Better Living for Texans Extension Assistant. We will see you.
You are listening to the Extension Hour with Texas A&M AgriLife. Visit us online at montgomery.agrilife.org.
Are you interested in learning more about preparing quick, healthy, and safe meals for your family? Would you like to spend time with others learning tips and tricks, along with practicing and tasting nutritious food? If so, the On the Road to Healthy Living Mobile Cooking School is for you. Call Amy Ressler at Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service at 936-539-7825 to find a class near you or volunteer to host a class.
Hello, I'm Bonita DeRosa, Animal Control Officer for the City of Willis. We invite you to tune in to Lone Star Internet Radio every first and third Thursday of the month at 11 a.m. for the Willis Hour. On the first Thursday of the month, the Willis Hour will be covering upcoming events and news about the city. Join in the conversation with your city officials and other leaders in the community. On the third, we will be doing a recap of the last City Council meeting. The mission of the City of Willis is to provide high-quality services, accountability, and professional commitment to our citizens. We pledge to provide those who live, work, and visit our city an effective government that is open and responsive to the needs and values of the community. Again, we invite you to tune in on Lone Star Internet Radio every first and third Thursday of the month at 11 for the Willis Hour.
I'm Lieutenant Bob Berry with the Conroe Police Department, reminding you that drinking and driving do not mix. Drinking and driving causes an alcohol-related fatality every hour in the United States. Stay sober and stay alive.
You're listening to the Extension Hour with Texas A&M AgriLife Extension. Visit us online at montgomery.agrilife.org.
Howdy, and welcome back to the BLT Extension Hour here on IR Lone Star. And we are talking about, I guess, the pest warfare that a lot of us may be facing, especially now when it's cold. You know, little critters want to come in because it's cold, they're hungry, and they want a place to stay that's inviting. And guess what? If you're providing either food, shelter, or water for them, you've just invited them. So we're going over tips on how to control that, or how to avoid inviting them in by managing or control. We want to make sure that we make their habitat less inviting and less appealing by modifying either their food, the water, or the shelter situation. Mm-hmm. Is that right? So what we're going to do is that our last step in all this management is control. Last thing we need is to have an insect infestation when you only have $14 at the end of the month and you just went to the store and you found out your rice, your flour, your beans, your lentils are all kaput because some little critter got in there and went to town. And oh man, that's like probably a $50 worth of groceries that you have to throw away.
Right.
So it's hard now, guys, and it's we have to take care of our homes and make sure that we don't let the insects get the better of us. Mm-hmm. So one of the last steps is control. We have to take all these steps carefully, and as part of a integrated pest management program, you could say, yes, for your house. I mean, it's just not one thing. And growing up, my mama used to think that, I mean, she was not an entomologist, but she just saw the commercials for that little cartoon insects screaming and yelling and exploding when they would look at this like bottle of bug spray with muscles. Like, I'm going to pound y'all. And this, she was like, well, we must use that because it obviously kills bugs. It's like, well, okay. But, it's not just one thing. It's many things that we have to do to make sure that the insects don't take over our pantries and, make our food go bad and make us possibly get sick. Right? Mm-hmm. And that's insects and rodents, folks. So, I was saying pesticides, you want to use pesticides as a last resort, not number 1, 2, and 3. Right. Or 4, step 4, 1, 2, or 3, or 4. So one thing that you don't want to do, and I know people would do this. I saw this lady at a restaurant down deep in South Texas. There was a fly, and she was spraying the restaurant with bug spray, and people were eating in there. And it's like, wow. You don't want to use pesticide as a last resort, and don't apply pesticides to food. Right. Not where people are eating, not where you're storing your flours, your sugars, your beans, or anything like that. That could really cause you problems. Mm-hmm. You want to be very careful with that. Miss Jenny, you had an interesting...
Yeah, you really need to be careful when applying bug spray. It's a repellent, so it makes them go away. So a lot of people think, if I keep spraying it, it'll die. And they do get slow sometimes, and they get a little lethargic because you just douse them with a bunch of stuff. Right. But they are repellents, so they're going to run away. And when they run away, well, where are they going to go? Somewhere else in your home. So be very careful when you are applying. It's best to leave it to the professional because their job is to make sure that they're not spreading it elsewhere and to get a good perimeter control. So, if it gets to the point where you can't handle it, let the professionals do their job. We've gone to school, we've done everything, we're licensed, let us do it. But, here's, be careful with the spray because you're going to spread them elsewhere. A good way to identify is also the glue boards we talked about. You can get those at any hardware store. Use your glue boards so that way when the professional does come in, you've already done some of the job for them so that they know exactly what they're going after.
Yeah, well, hopefully we won't get to the point, with all the respect we love seeing around, but man, it's it could be tricky if we're doing it wrong. Mm-hmm. And, it's... I've faced it before, and let me tell you, it's not easy. No. So again, be careful with how you administer that spray, and like she said, it's a repellent. So if you're going to spray them in one room, they're probably going to run away to the other room. Mm-hmm. So and if you're not using our integrated pest management technique at home, which is the identify, sanitize, exclude, and control for these critters, then it's going to be highly ineffective, and you're pretty much throwing money away, and you're spraying your whole house, and everybody's breathing that in. So just be very careful with that. And one thing is that it's not only the insects that are a problem, but it's also rodents. Rodents are a big deal because they cause so much damage, and they also carry disease. And having worked in the restaurant industry, every restaurant, thankfully, that I worked for, except for maybe one that I can think of, and I did not enjoy working there. They were very good about calling, having good sanitation safety practices and good housekeeping, which is something that we can definitely do at home. Right. These are all everything we've been talking about is stuff that we can easily manage ourselves, and hopefully it won't go to the point where we just can't manage it, and then that's when you call somebody like Miss Jenny or any other company that you trust in Conroe.
Something I wanted to mention real quick with the rodents, because we haven't really talked about that yet, is that, we've talked all about the inside, but on the outside, if you got to make sure, just go walk around your home and make sure that there's no branches touching the roof, the bushes aren't touching the side of the walls of the house on the outside of the home. Cut them back at least 2 feet from all the way around the home, top, bottom, all the way around. That'll really help prevent the
good
rodents.
Housekeeping outside, good housekeeping inside, folks.
Absolutely.
Don't invite them by giving them a place to hide outside of the house and live, and then be able to chew through wires, because not only is it a health hazard, but it's also like a life hazard, because from what I understand, these critters can chew through wires and
Yes.
have caused many house fires, in fact, and that's very unfortunate.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Jenny. It was
Thank you. I appreciate it.
very
And I just
great.
want to say our hearts go out to all those that are struggling and have lost their jobs. And we just, I hate that this is happening, but our hearts go out to you. And if you need anything, Yvonne, if you need anything, give me a call. And your clients maybe want to have any questions, feel free to give me a call.
Thank you very much. And this is IR Lone Star. You're listening to the Extension Hour. Thank you for tuning in. And we will see you next week.
Thank you for checking out a podcast on Lone Star Internet Radio. Lone Star Internet Radio is Montgomery County's community radio station, broadcasting from the heart of Conroe, Texas. If you are interested in sponsoring a program for Lone Star Internet Radio, just visit us online at irlonestar.com or message us on Facebook. We are always taking song requests on Twitter, and if you are interested in getting involved with the station by either hosting your own show or if you want to be a DJ, just contact Dick at irlonestar.com. Lone Star Internet Radio, Montgomery County's community radio station.